Hayden Green from the Multicultural Center, and we're back with this week's Tiny Talk. I'm here this week with Dr. Salena Whitfield. Hi, Salena, how are you?
Good. How are you, Hayden?
Very good, very good. So we're very excited to have Dr. Whitfield on with us today. She has an amazing story, especially about for those of you who are interested in changing careers or pivoting in your career. And I really think that her story is going to be impactful for a lot of you. So without further ado, Dr. Whitfield, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I will start off by saying that I am a businesswoman that loves science, and that is not a abnormal occurrence, if you will. However, I think my path is a little different than traditionally most people might have taken to gotten there. So I started at, if we're talking about from a college perspective, Florida A&M University, which is a historically black college and university, and I was studying chemical engineering. I wasn't thrilled about chemical engineering. Actually, it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be when I first chose that major in high school. But, however, I did finish out my degree. During I would say right before my senior year, I started to think about what do I really want to do. And I got really excited about this idea of consulting. And so that was actually my first foray in transitioning from kind of STEM field, if you will, to a business field. So I actually worked for McKinsey and Company as a business analyst. And McKinsey and Company is a global management consulting firm. But that wasn't quite where I wanted to be, and quite wasn't where my passion was. And so when I thought about what did I want to do, I was like, oh, I really enjoyed chemistry, which was part of the reason I chose chemical engineering. I just wasn't jazzed about the engineering part. And so I thought maybe I want to be a professor. And so in that vein, I entered into a Ph.D. program and studied chemistry. Take either. And so as you can tell, there's just a lot of trial and error going on here. But ultimately, I did finish my PhD and ended up going back to management consulting, quite frankly, because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet with my life. And I had an offer to return to the firm. And I said, well, this is a good place to land until I kind of figure things out. And that final landing with McKinsey and Company really did help me figure out what I wanted to do. And what I was really passionate about was science, not necessarily from the perspective of a person that is doing the science, but really from the perspective of working with companies, organizations that are committed to science and really helping them think strategically about the directions that they take. And so that has really kind of led me on the path that I'm at now, has led me to the current company that I'm at, which is Abbott Laboratories, a global healthcare provider in terms of medical devices, diagnostics, nutrition, and also branded generic pharmaceuticals. And so right now what I do is I am a finance director in the Business Insights and Strategic Initiatives group.
And so
that's kind of a short version of my story.
And so what is really interesting about that is that after the bachelor's in chemical engineering, a lot of people are like, oh my God, you have a bachelor's in chemical engineering. That's a pretty defined way of going. And then you
Mm-hmm.
went off and got a PhD in chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you that most people, if you told them that you have a PhD in chemistry, would assume that okay, that's your life's goal. You're a chemist
Yep.
at this point in time, right? So, and
Yes.
and then you pivoted once more and went into business. And what you didn't mention is that you have an MBA. You went back and got your MBA.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
so
did.
I have to believe, or at least I know for myself, it must have been scary to be like, I put in so much time to achieve this thing over here, and I found that it's not exactly what I want to do. I'll try this other thing over here. Like, how scary was that for you, or did it just come naturally to you?
No, absolutely absolutely. It is terrifying, quite frankly. I think, for me, because it's been spread out over time, and I'm at the point where I feel confident about what I'm passionate about. Looking back, it's not as scary, but certainly in the moment, it absolutely was terrifying. Because, as you mentioned, a chemical engineering degree at any school is a rigorous program. It is not a cakewalk by any means. And so, going through all of just the sacrifices that you make in that type of program, and then determining that no, that's not really for me, is difficult. At the time where I really had to think about what do I want to do right before my senior year, um, it is scary because you've spent this time, and now you really don't have a clear direction. I was fortunate that I had internships during my college years, so my freshman through junior years, that helped me realize that chemical engineering was not what I wanted to do from a career standpoint. Um, but in terms of figuring out what's next, I mean, it's very scary. And so even then, when I went into consulting and I thought, oh, this is it, and then realized that the lifestyle was not necessarily what I wanted in terms of a work life balance, and just the various projects I was working on. Because as focused on science, for instance, right, you could be working in any given industry or any given sector. And so just having that, it helps you realize, I think the silver lining is it helps you realize what you don't like. um, but again, kind of moving from that into, well, I'm still not sure what I want to do. And you know by this time approaching mid 20s and still having that level of uncertainty, again, is unsettling. And then even coming out of a 5-year PhD program, still not completely sure what you want to do. And by that time, I was approaching 30. And again, it just, you see the time going by and you realize I'm still not there. But I think, what I am a witness and testimony to is the fact that, even if you don't know at age 18, you don't know at age 21, you don't know at age 25, you don't know at age 30 what you want to do, it's perfectly okay. And you can still have a very high level of achievement once you do figure out what that direction is for you. So it's not that you've wasted all of this time. In fact, I've learned a ton on my, crooked but very insightful journey thus far.
And one of the things that we haven't even touched upon is that in between your MBA and your PhD, you became a physical trainer.
Yes, yes. So that's something else that I'm really passionate about. Really passionate about fitness, and so I went and decided to just go ahead and get certified. I'm actually certified as a group fitness instructor, and I still do it. It's a hobby. It's something I enjoy. I'm actually affiliated with a Chicagoland gym here in the area, Export Fitness, and I actually teach on Saturday mornings, and so it doesn't interfere with. But it's something that I'm just passionate about doing, and I decided that I wanted to do in a more formal manner. And yeah, I love it. Actually, when I was in my MBA program, I taught classes every Saturday morning that we were on campus. And I had small classes because I was doing like a 6 a.m. class,
Oh,
but
ugh.
the faithful few that did come, we had a great time. And funny enough, one of my classmates, kind of given everything that's happening with COVID-19 right now, and kind of the home office work, and just kind of the shelter in that everyone is taken to. One of my classmates, a couple of my classmates, actually mentioned that they miss our Saturday morning workouts. So yeah, so that's just something else I kind of threw in there.
Yeah, just for good measure. Now, and I've taken one of your classes, and you're no joke. And
Thank you.
and so it's crazy to know that somewhere somebody's in a gym in Chicago somewhere, being taught a Zumba class or some sort of aerobic class by somebody who has an MBA and a PhD, and not in physical fitness.
Right.
So, Dr.
Yeah, it's
Whitfield, what's
funny.
next for you? Where do you go next?
That's a great question. Ultimately, I think what I want to do continues to be in the vein of joining together science and strategy. Those are things that I'm very passionate about. But I'm also passionate about fitness, right? And so I could definitely see something in the future, kind of morphing off into that area more in a business realm. But for right now, it's really just, me trying to gain as many skill sets, really trying to further develop myself, learn as much as I can. Current company I've I've been with Abbott. It'll be 9 years this August, and in all of those different roles, the goal is to try to learn something new. And I have an idea that possibly I may want to run a business at some point, whether that is in a corporation or run my own business. But I think all of these different roles and opportunities are really just helping me build my skill set so that I can get to that goal.
That's absolutely amazing. So my last question for you is, excuse me if misidentifying you, but you identify as a black woman, correct?
Yes.
How has that impacted where you've gone in your career, either in science or in the business field?
Absolutely. It is hugely impactful. I think for me, in a couple of ways. One, I would say I appreciate the question in terms of is that how I identify? Because absolutely, that is how I identify. And I, on the one hand, science does not see in terms of the results of science, right? It should not see any type of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, anything like that. But the reality is very different. Like the reality of, what students get admitted into programs, right? Like I was one of, I think, four black individuals, not even black women, black individuals in my chemistry department, right? I went to the University of Michigan. Um, Out of, I don't know, maybe like 80 people, right?
Yeah,
And so it is very noticeable, right? Like you have a feeling of isolation in many ways when the only person in your laboratory that is black. And it definitely makes a difference in how you interact with others, how you think about yourself, um, and for me, it's really been an opportunity. I would say an opportunity to be a kind of ambassador, if you will, for others. Sometimes it's in a role that we don't necessarily want, right? I don't want to have to be the one that you are always looking to or asking questions, but at the same time, I know for many people I encounter, I might be the only professional black woman that they know or that they've met,
right.
and so it is important for me to carry that light proudly and really make sure that I am showing and displaying the very best, not only for African Americans but for women and for African American women. That I'm really displaying that black girl magic, which many people may not see.
That's awesome. Well, you've definitely displayed a lot of Black Girl magic today, and I want to thank you so much for taking time out to speak with us today on our Tiny Talk program. I hope you had a good time.
I absolutely did. Thank you so much for inviting me, Hayden.
No, never a problem. We were happy to have you, and hopefully one day you can get to visit the campus in person
Yes.
out at Manhattan College. So again, we've been talking with Dr. Salena Whitfield during our Tiny Talks program, and tune in next week when we speak to another one of our Tiny Talkers and bring you some more information through a multicultural lens. This has been the Multicultural Centers program, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.